Today we're going to be talking about quitting versus cutting back. Some people have the luxury of just cutting back their alcohol intake and controlling that and making good, healthy decisions for themselves, while some people find that really difficult. And actually, cutting back can make you focus on alcohol more than if you just quit altogether. For me, cutting back was not the solution, and in fact, it made me more frustrated, more consumed by alcohol and thinking about it all the time. It was not going to work for me. I tried it for a long time, probably a year and a half of different strategies and considering sobriety, and in the end, I decided that quitting was going to be the best solution for me. And let me tell you right now, the moment I quit is when my mind became so freed up. I stopped being handcuffed to the idea of alcohol, and I was able to just live my life and wake up and not have alcohol be the first thing I think of and not have alcohol be the thing that I think about all throughout the day. It was so freeing mentally, and I highly recommend it. It's awesome. Quitting is way easier than cutting back, in my opinion. But if you're able to cut back and you think that that's a strategy that you can accomplish, I'm going to be talking about strategies for that too. So we're just going to be going over everything in this episode about cutting back, quitting completely. So let's get right into it. Welcome to Hold My Drink, a sobriety podcast. This is a no judgment zone. I really freaking like my life without alcohol. You're not alone. I hope you feel seen. Sobriety has changed my life completely. Okay, so let's start with cutting back. For me, cutting back was exhausting. I would think about alcohol all the time when I restricted myself. I mean, it consumed every thought in my head, and I got really sick of it by the end. But I want to tell you a couple of strategies that I tried when I was cutting back or attempting to cut back, in case cutting back is something that you feel like you can accomplish. If that is you, good for you. We probably have a little bit of a different relationship to alcohol, because for me, looking back, that was never going to be possible for me. But if it is for you, awesome. And let's talk about the strategies that I attempted. First of all, I've been served an ad for Sunnyside many times on TikTok. It is an app for moderating your drinking. And so if you're interested in cutting back, maybe check out that app. I haven't tried it myself, so I'm not speaking from experience, but I've heard about it. I've seen it. I have looked into it through TikTok, and it sounds like a really cool way to cut back on your drinking and find support through an app. If that's something you're interested in, it's called Sunnyside. But strategies that I tried. So I would say I tried pretty much everything. I would look up all the time, like ways to limit my drinking, ways to cut back. And some things that I tried were, one, only drinking on the weekends. And this one didn't work for me because when the weekend began, got a little fuzzy. Like, is that Friday afternoon? Is Friday part of the weekend? Can I start drinking at 10 a.m. on Friday? What if it's President's Day on Monday and people are off work? Does that count as part of the weekend? When does it end? The lines were blurred. And then also, if I had like a birthday party on a Tuesday, I would go and drink at that birthday party on the Tuesday and then say, okay, on Saturday, since I drank for 5 hours on Tuesday, for Saturday, I can't drink for 5 hours during the day, even though that's one of my drinking days. I mean, I was negotiating with myself constantly. It was so annoying. I was frustrating myself. And then I was disappointed because I would go out to that birthday party on the Tuesday, and then I would also drink on Saturday. And I'm like, oh, I didn't stick to it. I was constantly failing. I was disappointing myself. And I think the constant cycle of failure is really frustrating when you're trying to do something good for yourself and you just keep failing at it. So anyway, that was the drinking on weekends thing. It really didn't work for me because I was just constantly thinking about it. Also, not to mention, if I was successful and didn't drink Monday through Thursday or whatever I set for myself, Monday through Thursday, you best believe I was thinking about alcohol every single one of those days. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait for Friday. What are we going to do on Friday? We got to go out and get absolutely sloshed, hammered at the bar. I'm so excited. Oh my God. And then also, when you're drinking so heavily on the weekends and then completely cutting it out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, your body doesn't react well to that. Like, you're almost going through little mini withdrawal symptoms when you drink so heavily on the weekend and then don't throughout the week. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, on Monday, I'm dealing with a hangover. On Tuesday, I'm dealing with a little bit more of the hangover and also some jitters and like craving alcohol so badly in my body. I'm battling sugar cravings and I'm just kind of suffering through the week to get to the weekend to finally drink. So that was the weekend's deal. Another thing that I tried was only drinking in the evenings past 5 p.m. For a lot of people, that seems pretty normal because everyone has jobs that they go to. But I've always been work from home, whether it was my own gig and I'm doing like freelance work or working for myself, or the times when I've been employed, I also work at home. So I would often start drinking a little bit earlier. I also worked East Coast hours, so it's like my day was done at 3. Anyway, so waiting until 5 p.m. was still a challenge for me, whereas for a lot of people that might be just normal. So the issue with this one is that I, first of all, would be staring at the clock all day, just waiting until it hit 5 p.m., like so excited to crack into that first drink. And then also, the whole point of this is to cut back on alcohol, right? But when I set that 5 p.m. time limit, I would just squeeze in all the drinks that I would have normally, but just starting at 5. So let's say I have 12 drinks per day, and I would start at, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock normally, or, day drinking from 10 a.m. if it's a Sunday or whatever. I would still consume all of those drinks, same amount of drinks, just starting at 5 p.m. So I wasn't improving my health in any way. I wasn't lessening the amount of alcohol that I consumed. I was just doing it in a smaller time frame, which it defeats the whole purpose of cutting back. And that one I failed too. And I'd get really mad at myself, or I'd feel peer pressured. Like on a Saturday, there's some sports game that starts at 10 a.m. and how am I not going to drink at the sports game, right? Like, we're going to a baseball game. I'm going to drink, and I would fail, and I would be disappointing myself constantly. So those are the two main things I hated about cutting back. It was failing and disappointing myself, and then the constant thinking about alcohol is exhausting. So those two things are why I hated cutting back, and why quitting was just so much easier for me. But continuing on with the cutting back strategies, if any of these might work for you, that's great. That's awesome. For me, they didn't work. But if you're able to grab one of these and run with it, and you're somebody who can cut back, cool. That's great and good for you. So maybe this might help somebody. I don't know. Another way that I cut back was saying that I was only allowed to drink hard alcohol. Now, I am somebody who really loved beer, wine, and seltzers. Those were my drinks, and I enjoyed them. I liked the taste of them. I craved them. They're refreshing, delicious. I loved them, and I would love to sip on those all day long. They were just delicious, and they kind of gave me that neutral 2-beer buzz all the time, and I just loved that. But hard alcohol, I didn't like. I was never a cocktail gal. Occasionally, I'd do a whiskey shot if they had like a whiskey and beer deal at the bar or something. But I really was not a hard alcohol gal. Like I said, there were a few drinks, of course. At the airport, I loved a Bloody Mary, etc. But my preference was beer, wine, and seltzers. And so when I said I can only drink hard alcohol, first of all, it made drinking less enjoyable to me. So it's like, if I was going to drink, I had to make myself a vodka, vodka soda or Moscow Mule at home. And I really didn't enjoy that as much. Also, when I went out to drink, I would order drinks with hard alcohol, and I just didn't enjoy them as much, so I wouldn't have as many. And I would almost say this was the best strategy, but I was still drinking so much. And I found ways to enjoy it. I found stuff that I liked. I found these Moscow Mule like mixers by Q Mixers, I think, which those are actually really good if you want to have them in sobriety, like a ginger beer mixer. They don't have any alcohol. But anyway, I liked those. And so I would have those with vodka and I would make really stiff drinks and I would drink those. And, then I'd be a little tipsy and I'd be like, oh, okay, who the frick cares? Like I'm having a Coors Light or I'm out of vodka or whatever. Like it just, again, it never worked. And when I went out, I didn't like ordering those cocktails or the drinks with hard alcohol. And so sometimes I would just give in and get the drink that I wanted. It's like, if I'm drinking anyways, I may as well get something I want. I mean, that one also, I'm hardly cutting back, right? Like I thought it would deter me from drinking a little bit, but really it just changed the drinks that I was drinking. And because it's hard alcohol, I still got like as drunk or as tipsy as I would just sipping on Coors Lights all day. You know what I mean? So that one was not for me. I would also just do shots, and like that's not healthy. And I would get way too wasted. I would be throwing up. I never really threw up from like beer and wine that much because I think my body was so used to it. But when I would have hard alcohol, my body did not like that and it would reject it. And so it was throwing up and just, it was an unpleasant time. And so that didn't last very long. And I went back to just drinking my beer, wine, and seltzers as I had been before. So yet another fail. I failed so many times. It was so frustrating. Looking back, I was exhausted. And all of my thoughts were around alcohol. The thing that I remember experiencing right when I got sober that was so cool was waking up and not thinking about how many drinks I had. Like, I don't know how to emphasize this to somebody who hasn't struggled with alcohol. It's very hard to describe, but like every single day when I was drinking, I would wake up and calculate how many drinks I had the night before. And I would instantly start the day with regret and hating myself, being so mad at myself. God, why did I do this again? Can't I get a grip on this? Like every morning I'm thinking like that. And I walk around my apartment and I collect all the Coors Lights cans and White Claw cans from around the apartment. Collecting them all up, counting how many there is, looking in the garbage, being like, oh, I'm so mad at myself. And then probably cracking into a drink in the morning because I feel so crappy. The mornings were so awful. And that's so weird because now the morning is my favorite time in the whole wide world in sobriety. Like having a coffee, sitting outside, taking a walk, waking up early. Like I love the mornings. I literally go to sleep excited for the morning. And when I was drinking, I used to literally drink myself to sleep. Like every single day I passed out on the couch every day. And then around 2 a.m. would make it to the bedroom. That was my sleep routine. Wow, I need to make an episode about sleeping because my sleep situation has improved so much. In fact, I'm writing that down right now. So yeah, the mornings were like torturous. So those were kind of all the things that I tried when I was cutting back. Like I said, all of them failed. I was dancing with the idea of sobriety for a year and a half. I remember I saw this girl's video, Haley Bailey, not the redhead, but a different one. She had posted that she was 1 year sober on her Instagram. And that was the first time that I saw somebody who was kind of like me. She was a model for a long time. Her kind of drunk photos looked like mine, where she's really round in the face and bloated, and then now she looked so good in this video. I was like, wow. And she's getting back into modeling, and she was my exact same age. She was in my city of Los Angeles at the time. That was the first time where I saw someone like me struggling with alcohol and admitting it on the internet and sharing how amazing her life has been since. And it was that video that I saved on Instagram. I should really message her and tell her that she basically changed my entire life. But I saved that video on Instagram and I would look back at it over and over for a year and a half, like kind of knowing that this was something I needed to do. And I just couldn't will myself to do it. And then on June 20th, 2024, I finally just woke up and said, today is the day. And I talk about this in a lot of my episodes, but it was not a convenient time for me to quit drinking. I had a family vacation coming up, and I love to drink with my family in the summer. So fun. I had a family vacation with my boyfriend's family at the time. and I was going to have to meet all these new people. I was going to have to tell them that I didn't drink, and these are people that I just met and I was just sober. Like, I found it really uncomfortable to tell people that I didn't drink in early sobriety, and I'm having to do it to this family of my boyfriends who I'm supposed to like be impressing and stuff. So like I said, it was a horrible time. Oh, and then I had my high school reunion coming up right after that. It was a horrible time to get sober. But fun fact, there's never a good time to get sober. It's never going to be like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense. I got nothing coming up. I can just sit at home for the next month and deal with this. Like, it's always going to be a bad time. There's holidays, there's birthday parties, there's outings with your friends. Like, you're always going to have obstacles. And so when you feel it, like when I saw that video and I said, this is something that I need to do, I need to get sober, you just have to do it. Like I said, I danced with the idea for 1.5 years, which is fine. You know, we all have our own timeline, and I think it happened the way it did for good reason. But there's not going to be a good time. And when you decide to quit, you just got to do it. And let me give you some encouragement here. When I quit, it was the most freeing feeling ever. I was finally free from the handcuffs of alcohol. Oh my God, it was such a good feeling. Like I said, the mornings were incredible. I didn't wake up every single morning and have alcohol be the first thing I think of. Instead, it was coffee or work, or I'm going to go get some sun, or like I need to take a walk, or what am I doing today? Like, there are so many beautiful things that we can consume our thoughts with in this life. It's a beautiful life. And having alcohol be the center of all our thoughts is really kind of doing a disservice to this beautiful life we have. And that's getting like a little deep and woo-woo, which I really try not to do, but like, life is beautiful, and having alcohol be at the forefront of your life is not a good way to live. That's not how we were intended to live. And if you're depressed and you don't like your life, let me tell you from experience, alcohol only makes it worse. Alcohol can feel like a Band-Aid, and it can help you get through hard times temporarily. But the only real solution for getting happier, you know, outside of serious mental health issues, is quitting the alcohol, quitting the thing that is continuing to make your lows even lower and make you more depressed. So anyways, quitting alcohol was the easiest thing I've ever done. That's what I always say, because it was way easier than anything else I tried. All the different cutting back strategies, only drinking on the weekends, only drinking past 5 p.m., limiting myself to hard alcohol and not drinking beers, wine, seltzers. All those strategies that I tried were so hard and difficult. I was struggling. It was exhausting. I was white knuckling it. Like, it was so hard. And the moment I quit, everything became easier. Because there's no negotiation that can happen. There's no special occasion. There's no excuse. There's no, oh, maybe just today is fine. Like, no. You just are not a person who drinks anymore. That's not you. There's no situation where you would drink. There's nobody who can convince you to drink. You don't even have to think about it anymore. You don't have to think about when you're next going to get alcohol. You don't have to think about the fact that you're drinking so much alcohol. Alcohol does not have to be on your mind. And that's why I always say that quitting alcohol was easy. Of course, in itself, it was not easy. There were struggles. And maybe I'll write that down as another episode too, about the withdrawal symptoms from quitting alcohol and how to deal with some of those. I do talk about that a little bit in my How to Quit Drinking episode on this podcast. But there were hard times for sure. But quitting alcohol was the easiest method to reducing my alcohol intake that I had tried. All the different strategies for cutting back and moderating, I failed at. And finally, when I quit, when I said, this is the last day I'm drinking, I'm done, that was finally something that I've been successful at for now 8.5 months. 260 days or something like that, I have been sober. I succeeded. I have impressed myself. I have stuck to something. It feels really good to have been successful at something when I had failed myself over and over and over and over again. Failing other people is really hard, and that hurts your soul too. But failing yourself over and over again when nobody else is keeping you accountable, it's literally just you, and you repeatedly fail yourself, It's a really horrible act of self-hate to repeatedly fail yourself. It's beating yourself up. It feels awful, and I don't recommend it. It's much easier to win and succeed and accomplish your goals and stay true to what you said you would do. And when I quit, I finally succeeded. Some people have relapses and struggle with that, and that's a topic for another day. Those are really hard, and that does happen to people in sobriety. It hasn't happened to me yet. I really won't let it happen. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to say I'm going to try to not let it happen. Like, I'm not letting that happen. I will not relapse. I'm done. This is my life. Period. And yeah. So if you find the topic of alcohol mentally exhausting, I highly recommend cutting it out of your life. Like, even if you don't have a real problem with alcohol and you just find that you're a person who thinks about alcohol all the time, whether it's like getting a drink at happy hour with your coworkers or like looking forward to partying on the weekend, and maybe it hasn't gotten to that like problematic state yet, but you are just exhausted from thinking about alcohol all the time, I'm going to tell you that the mind opens up and has so much space for other thoughts when you finally decide to just cut it out of your life. It's so awesome how much actual physical time you have, like in the real world, and also how much space you have in your mind for better thoughts. And so you have time, like you're not drinking your life away and starting drinking at 3 p.m. and having no life for the rest of the evening because you're sitting on the couch drinking Coors Lights, but you're also not wasting that valuable space in your mind. So it's a really great thing, and I highly recommend it. Quitting is the best decision I've ever made, the easiest one. So I hope that if you choose to quit alcohol or you have already quit alcohol, I hope that you enjoy all the amazing positive benefits that come with it and the mental clarity and the health improvements. It's a great life, and I'm proud of you for not wasting it, drinking your life away. It's much better on this side of things. And if you're somebody who is able to cut back, I hope you were able to find some value in the strategies that I tried. I don't know how healthy those are. I'm not like a specialist or a counselor or a therapist. Talk to somebody else if you're looking to cut back, because I failed. That was not a strategy that was good for me. But if you found some value in those strategies, cool. You do you. But for those people who are not capable, quitting is awesome. Okay, love you guys. See you for the next episode. Bye.